You're going to pretend the camera's not here.
Okay, great.
Go ahead, spell your whole name so I get it right.
Molly, Molly, Hussey, Hussey.
Perfect. And your full title with the team?
So I'm the Pigeons captain and president. So it's our developmental team. So I run the team on the field and off the field with like logistics, so getting to tournaments, and also like coaching.
So these are kids from freshman year to senior year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have all the years. It's mostly beginners. And there's some people like me who've been playing a while that kind of stick around to like help teach people. It's a lower commitment. So.
Tell me a little bit about when you see these kids that are coming out for the first time, or whether it's the first few times. What's that like for you to see these these newcomers to a sport that is still basically in its infancy?
Yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, I love it, and it's been a big part of like me being in college. I've met a ton of my friends through this, and I mean, I love doing it. So getting to see people like come out and like really start to like love it or like learn how to play the game, it's definitely kind of hard to like figure out at first. And so kind of seeing people, especially like on the developmental team, like seeing them like go from like not really being able to play to like understanding how to like keep the broom between their legs and like really like get it down is really fun.
We were talking to Frank a little bit about how inclusive the sport it is in terms of the fact that there's actual rules that mandate that there's girls and guys on the same team. And the other thing is that this is kind of a sport that combines all these other things. Tell me a little bit about how you might not be able to you might not be playing your mainstream sport and gravitate towards this for some athletes.
I mean, I think it's really good for that because a lot of people play sports in high school. Like I played lacrosse, and then like I got to college and I didn't want to play like top level lacrosse. Like that wasn't what I was gonna do, but I really love being on a team and like coming out and like playing a sport. And so I think it's really good for that. There's a lot of people who used to play sports, and because it's kind of a combo of things, it's easy. Like while it's sort of a hard sport to grasp, there's so many elements of other sports that it's really easy to tie it back to something you already played. Like when I'm playing, like I'm thinking about lacrosse, so I'm like, okay, I can like go behind the hoops and I can like run here, and like the positioning's similar. And I think it's the same for like people who played like basketball or field hockey or soccer.
So the rules are a little complicated. Frank tried to explain it to us. We're still trying to figure it out. For people who've never watched before, when you're following along, what recommendation do you give? What are the things you should focus on early on? If you have no idea what's going on, and even in the 18-minute start, even before the snitch comes out.
Yeah, so it's kind of complicated. I think it's easy like when you're looking to try to like divide up the chasing and the beating. So like the chasers have the quaffle, which is the volleyball, and like focusing on that as like that's like your basketball, like your like main ball that's like going through the hoops. So I think that's one of sort of the easier things to follow because you can like see how it relates back to other sports because they're on offense, they're trying to get it through the hoops, they're like making cuts. But then there's also the other element of beating, and so it's easy to kind of like get focused on the beaters and forget that there's people playing with the quaffle. And so if you like watch the beaters and like sometimes it's really integrated, but kind of dividing them in your mind but seeing how they interact, that's sort of a good way to do it. But it's definitely confusing when you first start watching.
And of course, on top of all of that, everybody who is on the field has to have this broom between their legs, which adds an even more complicated and difficult aspect to the game. Tell me about that.
It's definitely weird when you first start. Like when you get, I know I've had people who like they come and it's just like so they can't do it. Like it always falls. You like go to catch the ball and it's down, and like even if you caught, then like you have to drop the ball. But like I've been playing for 4 years, and now I'm like it's like second nature. It's like okay, you like hold it, it's there. Like I don't really think about it anymore. But it's definitely one of those things at the beginning where you're like, how am I supposed to run with this thing? Or like, how am I supposed to do this? But like, eventually, like, you just kind of get the hang of it.
And you got to chase the snitch with that as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a big thing with the snitch and the seeker is that the snitch basically like doesn't. There's like a lot of rules with like tackling and that kind of stuff to like keep you safe, but the snitch doesn't have any of those rules, so they can kind of like throw you to the ground. And what they'll do a lot is that they'll grab the broom from between your legs and like yank it out from your legs so that then like throw it somewhere, so you have to go run and get it. So it's definitely like kind of a liability when you're seeking.
And this is full. So this is really as full contact as it gets. People don't realize that too. If you would think it would be, it's not that way, but it actually is. Tell me about. I mean, this is pretty intense in terms of the contact.
It is. I mean, there's definitely like rules to keep you safe. Like you can only tackle from the front and that kind of stuff with one arm. But I do know people who've like broken a nose and like gotten hurt. And like people are fine. It's like not horrible, but it is like definitely like an aggressive sport. I think people sometimes like write it off as like, oh, it's a Harry Potter sport, but like it's like the real deal. And especially when you get to like the higher levels, like Bryce is going to nationals in the spring, and like some of those teams from like Texas and like other schools where they're like just like big guys and like they'll just kind of like take you down.
What do you think? I guess last thing. I know I have, Phil. Unless you have something else, is talk a little bit more. I mean, to see a sport out there now that's growing the way it is, that you've got this gender equal, a league where you have girls and guys together playing their hearts out together. What's that like? What's that like for you? Because we don't see a lot of sports like that. Most of them are separate. You know, to have a league where it's completely inclusive like that.
I mean, I really love it. I think, like I said, I used to play lacrosse, and like girls lacrosse is like so little contact compared to boys who get to just like hit each other, and it was always something that was like a little disappointing in high school because it's like, okay, I like, can't even like push her, and now it's like we're playing with them, and it's like I get to like I can sometimes bring down a boy, like depends how big he is, but like even so, it's like you are up against them, and it's like it feels very inclusive. Like it's certainly not like the girls are not as good. It's like there are girls who are so good and like can just like take down a guy, and like even like obviously different people have strengths, so you can like dodge and like whatever, and yeah, it's really special. It's a really cool dynamic that you definitely don't see other places.
Perfect. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. We'll get